and you mentioned wee, like to pee, like to go to the toilet. But in Scottish slang, wee is a way of saying like small.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Welcome to English with Lewis. Let's go! Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to English with Lewis. And we have another wonderful guest, as you'll already seen. And today we're going to be speaking about Scotland, Glasgow, Scottish slang, and then we're going to be asking each other plenty of conversational questions using phrasal verbs. So that being said, let's kick off. Let's get started. Shannon, welcome. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you, Lewis? Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure, and we're recording this on a Friday, so I don't know about you, but I'm in a good mood. It's the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Can't wait.
Woo woo. So first things first, could you introduce yourself for people who are watching who don't know you yet? Who are you?
Okay, sure. I'm Shannon, and my name on Instagram is Shannon English Teacher. Quite easy, I think. And yeah, that's it. I teach English on Instagram. But my main job is principally teaching in a school, but I also, yes, do Instagram, and I live in Italy. I've been living here for the past 6 years, and that's pretty much it. That's the main thing that I do, I guess.
Excellent. That's you in a nutshell, in summary. And you're from Scotland. Whereabouts in Scotland?
I am indeed. I'm from Glasgow.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I've heard that the Glaswegian accent is the most complicated Scottish accent, and Scottish accents are already complicated for people to understand. Would you agree with this?
Well, it depends who you're talking to. Probably in general, perhaps it is more difficult if the accent is really, really strong. Like for me, I personally don't have a strong accent. I mean, of course, when I'm teaching, I don't, use slang or I have a really strong accent. But in general, it's not that strong. So it does depend on the person. But yeah, if I had to say, like, in general, probably a Glasgow accent perhaps is heavier, like, heavier accent than some other places, for example, in Edinburgh. Yeah. But, it's cool.
It's cool, and I'm sure people can understand you, and this is a great way for people to practice their British English listening, because of course all Brits speak differently, and not everybody is going to have the perfect like RP pronunciation who speak like the Queen. So this is some great listening practice.
Yeah, exactly. It is. British is not just the one accent, is it? So I agree.
Right. Awesome. Now, tell us more about how you ended up teaching and you ended up in Italy. What's the story with this?
Well, to be honest, it started when I was in secondary school because I just loved languages. I originally started with French, and then because I liked French, I started studying Italian. And I probably, not that I liked it more, but I probably was a little bit better in Italian. I don't know. I just had more of an interest in it, I guess. So I decided to do a degree in French and Italian. And then when it came to a point where I had to start working, I decided a bit late to become an English teacher. It wasn't my original plan. I had originally wanted to be a translator, but I decided to become an English teacher, and I thought I would like to go abroad and do that, not in the UK. So Italy seemed like the obvious choice for me because I had studied the language, I liked the culture and the people and the food perhaps as well. So yes, that's why I decided to come here. And I haven't looked back really. I've been here for 6 years. As I say, I live really near the sea, so that's great too.
La bella vita, the beautiful life.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not really. I mean, you still have to, like people obviously like they work and do their normal things like everyone does, in the UK or no matter what country you're in, really. Like, but still, as I say, the food's good, the weather is good most of the time, and yeah, you have the beach, which is always a plus.
Absolutely, 100%. I would love to live by the beach, and it's definitely a plan for the future, but who knows when. And it's funny because we have kind of a lot of things in common because when I went to university, I started studying Spanish and Italian. But when I started, I didn't know any Italian at all. So I already spoke a little bit of Spanish, but my Italian was kind of zero. So I had to learn as much as possible, as quickly as possible. And at university, I don't know about you, but I wasn't very focused. I didn't study as much as I should have. And now I look back on it and I think like, oh, Lewis, you're an idiot. You wasted like 3 years of your life. You should have studied so much more and improved your language skills so much more, which I did towards the end of my degree. But the first 2 years were a little bit of a write-off. Like I didn't do anything productive. Were you studious at the beginning of your degree?
Actually, I have the opposite experience. When I look back at university, I wish I had had more fun because I was very studious. I did a similar experience to you because I did French and Italian, like I said, but I also started German because the system was a bit weird. You needed extra credits so you could do another subject, and I just chose German because I liked languages. And I started from zero with that too. And it is hard when you start at university from zero. You have to catch up, like to be at the same level in both languages in a year or 2 years, like you said, right? It was the same for you. Within 2 years, you had to try to catch up. But yeah, I wish I had enjoyed it more because I was always studying. But, I had fun as well. That was how I had fun in a certain way as well because I chose languages just because I liked them, not because I was thinking necessarily about my career or, what I was going to do after. As I say, I had the idea of being a translator, but the main reason I chose languages was just because I like them. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And with this, so being a translator was the number one priority, at least at the beginning. Was teaching always like a backup plan?
No, not really. I must say, it was something that I decided just as I was about to graduate because I had realized that I didn't want to be a translator anymore. Because I had an experience, some work experience doing that, and I didn't enjoy it. I thought I would prefer a job with more interaction, so I was thinking, what can I do? And obviously, teaching came to me. I originally thought that I wouldn't be very good at it, I must say. I thought I didn't have that ability to explain things clearly, but I tried it and it turned out that I loved it. And I was, well, I hope I'm good at it. So yeah, and I've just stayed. I haven't looked back. So I haven't looked back. So yeah.
Wonderful. And you mentioned that you have your Instagram account and you upload videos there to teach English, but at the same time, your main job, so to speak, is that you teach, did you say in a secondary school or a primary school?
No, in like a language
neither.
school. That's yeah.
Excellent. And what kind of classes do you enjoy teaching most? What kind of groups or activities do you get the most out of?
Well, I enjoy a mix. I like teenagers as well as adults as well. Like I like teaching both of them. I must say, like I work at a school, but I also do some of my own individual lessons as well.
Hmm.
And I enjoy doing individual lessons, and having a chat with the students and being able to see them, gain that confidence, I think is the enjoyable part.
Exactly. As they say, teaching is a very rewarding job. It makes you
Mm-hmm.
feel good when you see your students progressing and passing exams and so on. It's like, yes,
Yeah.
you go, guys.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. But as I say, I like a mix of I teach a mix of people, teenagers and adults. What about you? Do you teach
Yeah, so
teenagers, adults mix too?
my situation at the moment is that I don't teach that many classes. I've been a teacher for about a decade now, and it's always been in like language academies, and it's always been for adults or teenagers. I've
Mm-hmm.
never really taught the really young ones,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying that I would never do it, but I do definitely prefer to have normal conversations with adults, and that's what I find interesting.
Me
Um,
too. Yeah.
and then the last 5 years, I've been working for Teachify, which is a company that I helped set up with my friend. And over the years, the company has grown. And since the pandemic, we have been online 100%. So nowadays, I teach very little, let's say a couple of classes per day, because a lot of my other responsibilities are to manage the team, to hire new teachers when necessary, to create content and do a little bit of marketing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, I'm kind of out of the game, so to speak.
But that's good though. A bit of to do something different is must be good as well.
Exactly. They say
Yeah,
variety is the spice of life. If you do lots of different things in your day, then I guess you don't get bored.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. So, as a language learner, how do you prefer learning languages? How did you do it with Italian and French?
Well, it's very different nowadays compared to the past because I don't know if I said, I don't think I did. I'm learning Spanish. I'm trying my best to
Okay,
learn
muy
Spanish.
bien.
I mean, I'm a beginner, so the way I learn languages now is very different to what I did in the past. In the past, when I had the time and the energy to do it, I used to take like newspaper articles in French and Italian and translate them in
Okay.
like one way or the other, in like English articles into French and Italian, or French and Italian articles into English. I used to do all the fun things as well, watch films, read books, read novels. And I used to the thing that probably helped me a lot, but I absolutely don't do it anymore, is I kept a little notebook where I would write down all the words that I hadn't heard of before, that I didn't know. And even just for 5 minutes, not a huge amount of time, just for 5 minutes every day, I would choose a random page and I would actually revise that, because I think students are very good at writing down the vocabulary that they see, but then probably they don't actually take that step of looking back,
Uh-huh.
right? And like revising that vocabulary, because otherwise you might not, well, probably you won't remember it, right? So that was what I did uh, back in the day, as they say.
Uh-huh.
But when I was in secondary school and in university, but nowadays it's different. What I do typically, most of the time, to be honest, is just listen to podcasts. When I'm, walking or cleaning the house, cooking, that is the main thing I do to learn languages, and then the odd film or book. But I often don't have the energy to read a book in the evening, even just in English. Never mind.
Yeah.
I wish I could read more, but yeah. So the progress is slow, but it's all right.
Interesting. Well, you can do it. I'm sure, obviously, with French and Italian, there are a lot of similarities between these languages and Spanish. So, at least to be able to understand at the beginning, I reckon you'll be able to get the message and your progress will be relatively fast. The only downside, I guess, is that you might get mixed up. You might get confused and start using Italian words when you want to speak Spanish or vice versa. But it's a good problem to have, I'd say.
Yeah, no, that's true. I actually find it's weird, you know, when you're learning a language, often you see you know, if you can't think of a word, sometimes you just ask the teacher how to say this word using your own language, which in our case is English, of course. Sometimes when I don't know a word or I'm struggling to express myself in Spanish, Italian just comes out. And it's weird because that was never a problem for me when I had a lower level in French and Italian, even though they are, at least grammatically, quite similar, really. I never used to mix them up. So I don't know why I'm mixing up, like I'm speaking Italian when I'm learning Spanish, which is, it's bizarre. Because you're right, there are some things that are very similar, but then there are also lots of ways to be very wrong. You know, because it's not like they're perfectly the same, you know. So yeah.
There are a lot of false friends and lots of things that kind of overlap from one language to another, but I'm sure give it a few months and you'll be feeling so comfortable speaking in Spanish. Watch this space. And now, before we move on to Scotland and Scottish slang and so on, you live in Italy at the moment. Are there any things about living in Italy that gets on your nerves? Are there any things that frustrate you a little bit about Italian life where you are?
The main thing probably is the bureaucracy. It's a little bit less organized. If you have to go somewhere to get something organized, it takes like at least half of your day, like if not full morning, you know. A lot of people who don't know what they're doing, perhaps. And that's the most frustrating thing, probably. But like, it's not like you have to do that every day, of course. Only when you have to do something in particular, you know, something official, let's say. Otherwise, then things that annoy me.
Maybe there's nothing. I'm not sure.
I mean, I don't want to talk badly about Italians because I in general,
they'll kick me out of the country.
I love living here, but I mean, and I don't want to say like everyone is like this because of course not. But in general, I guess people comment more on like if you're different today, or like if you've lost weight or put on weight, or you know, things like that, which in the UK we don't typically do. We don't really care about what people are wearing or what they look like. It's right. You could literally walk down the street wearing, I don't know, like something totally ridiculous, and no one would bat an eyelid, would they? But in Italy, it's a bit different.
Oh, perfect. You used a really nice expression there, which was to bat an eyelid. So people wouldn't even bat an eyelid is a nice way of saying that people wouldn't even think twice. They wouldn't even notice. They wouldn't even care. So yeah, to bat an eyelid is like to pick up on something, to notice something, and to like remark on something. Beautiful, lovely. So Scotland, let's speak about it. And I've never been to Glasgow. I've been to Edinburgh a few times and I love it. I recommend it to so many people as a great little like city weekend away. But I've never been to Glasgow. So what am I missing out on?
Well, to be honest with you, as a visitor, I mean, obviously I love Glasgow. It's my home. I prefer it, and
Hmm.
I like it more than Edinburgh because it's where I'm from. But probably as a visitor, there's less to see. Speaking totally honestly, there's it's just less beautiful, perhaps, But I like it for the people. They have a good sense of humor. They're very nice, very kind, very talkative. Um, and I like the the kind of things that you can do there. It's a very big city, and there's always something that you can do, in terms of events, concerts, and whatever else. It's lots of things to do. And to be honest, I just like it, as I say, because I'm from there. I always like, every time I'm in the UK, I always like to go back to the city centre and just take a wander around the university area as well. There's lots of lovely bars and things around there, restaurants. Um, so, just as a person living there, I think um, it's a good place to be.
And I'm a big football fan. And of course, the two big teams in Scotland are from Glasgow.
Mhm.
What is it like when there is the old firm derby between Celtic and Rangers? What's the atmosphere like in the city?
I've never been to a Rangers Celtic game, and I wouldn't recommend it. That's my answer. I think that says it, right? I would be a bit worried, perhaps. A bit nervous, but I can imagine. It's more exciting than any other game. I mean, I must say, you say you're a football fan, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not really. I don't really follow football. My dad is a big supporter of Rangers, so I'll just say, to make him happy, that Rangers is my favorite team. But
Uh-huh.
you
If you're listening,
know,
Dad, I hope you're happy.
but I'm, you know, what team do you support?
I support Leeds United.
Ah,
Um,
of
so it's a
course,
big
that makes
team as
sense.
well, but we
Mhm.
don't have a derby because there's only
Mhm.
one team in Leeds. So it's kind of, we're missing out on that. The derbies would be with like Bradford City or Huddersfield Town or even Man United. But for any huge football fans, lots of people will look at Glasgow and think about this big derby. And of course, it might be a little bit too passionate and there might be some aggressive people, but as a spectacle, if you're inside the stadium and you can see people chanting and screaming, I reckon I'd get goosebumps. Like I'd be like, oh, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. That's what I think as well. As I say, I haven't actually experienced it myself, but that's what I imagine. But on the other hand, with football particularly, um, there's a lot of, yeah, aggression and violence. Unfortunately, because it shouldn't be like that, right? We should be more, um,
More
it's not the
peaceful.
meaning of sport, is it really? Yeah. So.
Exactly. It's the beautiful game, not the aggressive game. All right. So moving on from football to Scottish slang. The
Mhm.
word that I think most Scots use is I,
Mm.
right?
Yep. Yeah, I is probably the number one word, and it's the one that I use. As I said before, when I'm teaching English, I don't use Scottish slang, but it's the one that sometimes slips out when I don't mean it to. So yes, I is the first one. Um, the other one probably, which is in the same, I would say it's fighting for pole position, is we, probably.
Uh-huh.
I think. Would you agree? I and which means little or small, um, are the two main ones, I think, right?
Yeah, yeah. I work with one Scottish teacher, and she's also from Glasgow. And she's always like, I. And for those of you who don't know, I is another way of saying yes. And it's used mainly in Scotland, but also in the very north of England as well. Around Newcastle, people will use I all the time. And you mentioned we, like to pee, like to go to the toilet. But in Scottish slang, we is a way of saying like small.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Yes. I never, I know both those words have those meanings, of course, but yeah, you're right. It means to pee normally.
Awesome.
Yes.
So these are probably the top two slang words if you want to sound Scottish. But what other slang terms do you like and use when you're not teaching?
What did I use? Interesting. Um, well, to be honest, but personally, I don't use a lot of them. At least I don't think so. But in terms of ones that are popular, we have I for yes, and for no, we have no. No.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's another one. If you want yes, you have no as well. And another one that I always like to teach people when they ask me about slang is messages, because people always get confused. They
Okay.
think
Like
you're going to get
text
it,
messages?
like you're going to the post office perhaps, or you receive a message on your phone. No, that's not what messages means in Scotland. It means like to get the shopping, the food shopping.
Okay. So I could
Um,
say, I'm just going to Tesco, I'm going to Asda, and I'm going to get the messages.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. To go to the supermarket. Yeah, exactly. Bit weird. I don't know where it came from, but
Oh, it's
we do
cool. It's
use
cool.
it.
It's
Yeah.
confusing, but it's cool.
Hmm. Yeah. It is confusing. Yeah, as I say, people think like even people from the UK, like yourself, would if I said to you, "I'm going to get the messages," you would think like, "Where are you going?" Like literally, the post office
What
probably
kind of
would be your.
messages? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, that's particularly Scottish, I would say. Something else, something else. Crabbit is one.
Like a crab?
Crabbit. Well, that's how you start it. That's how it's spelled, Crabbit. But it means. Well, what do you think it means? What do you think?
Um, Crabbit sounds like, I don't know, hurry up. Like, come on, Crabbit,
Oh no, it's an
for
adjective,
example.
which means to be bad tempered, to to be in a bad mood, really. Yeah,
Okay.
to not be happy.
So my
Yeah.
dad, he's really grumpy today. I'd say my dad is really Crabbit today.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crabbit.
Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know
Yes.
this at all. Messages and Crabbit are completely new for me. There are
Oh.
others that maybe I've heard of, like Bonnie, for example.
Mm.
Say that she's a bonny girl to maybe describe someone who's like pretty.
Hmm.
What else?
Yeah. But I must say, Bonnie, perhaps it's older people would maybe use it. Um, I've I don't really hear people using it really anymore, at least in Scotland. I think it's one of those stereotypical ones. But no, I don't think we use it, especially as I say, especially in the younger generation. But another word that we use is Wayne or Bairn as well. Wayne or Bairn. They both mean the same thing. They both mean child. Yeah,
Okay. So a
yeah.
Ben or a Wayne,
Wayne. Yeah, Wayne.
like
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, but spelled Wean. Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah,
Uh,
Wayne. Yeah.
Learning so much. Just for anybody who is a little bit lost right now, in the video description, I'm going to add a nice list of Scottish slang phrases so you can check it out there. And if you're feeling really adventurous and very daring, you can try to come up with your own example sentences in the comments as well, using I, no, Ben, Crabbit, and so on and so forth. That's your challenge.
I've got a good word to do that task.
Okay.
With Wayne or Bairn is greet. Greet normally means like to say hello, right? But in English, in Scottish, I want to say, sorry, in Scottish, it means to cry. So there you go. You could match Wayne and greet together, perhaps.
So the wee baby, the wee Wayne is greeting.
Yeah,
Wow.
there you go.
Awesome. Perfect. I'm glad we did that. We've learned lots of different Scottish slang. Now, let's move on to the final part of this chat, and we're going to ask each other some random conversational questions. I've got a list in the chat, and each one contains a phrasal verb. So we're going to be making up some answers and taking it in turns just to ask each other some simple questions. So, Shannon, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. How do you deal with stress in your life? How do you unwind and chill out if you're feeling a little bit stressed?
Well, after a busy day, I like to chill out by going to the gym. That's actually a true answer. Yeah. So, yeah, I chill out and unwind by, doing some physical exercise.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
So it's not getting drunk or anything like that. No, working
No.
out.
Well, sometimes, yeah. Um, why not? But yeah, my main stress reliever is working out. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, over to you. Pick a random question and shoot. Ask me.
Ooh, okay. Well, that's an interesting one. Have you ever had to give up a hobby that you enjoyed,
Hmm.
and why?
Um, kind of. So I've mentioned that I really like football and I watch a lot of football and I used to play football too. But in recent years, whenever I've tried to play, I've been enjoying myself and playing for like 20 minutes. And then I always seem to get injured. I always seem to just like twist something or pull something or get a sprain. And then I have to like retire. Um, so I tried this a few times and then I was like injured, like with a minor injury for a few weeks that meant that I couldn't really cycle or run. So unfortunately, I've kind of given up playing football. Maybe that'll change in the future, but at the moment, it's not really worth taking the risk so that I'd be injured and then wouldn't be able to do other sports that I like. So sadly, yeah, I've kind of given up playing football.
Shame. Shame.
I'm almost
Yeah.
greeting
But
right now.
but I know what you mean. Like when you have an injury, it's hard to give it up, isn't it? If you enjoy it, but you gotta be careful.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
necessary evil.
Mm.
Awesome. Let's move on. Let's do a couple more.
Mhm.
So, have you ever run into someone you knew unexpectedly? Have you ever come across them without planning to meet them, but you saw them, for example, in the street?
Good, interesting question. I don't think I have, at least recently, run into someone unexpectedly. Um, I don't think, yes, I can't think of a particular moment actually when I ran into someone. But it's always funny when that happens, particularly when you're in a different country. I don't know if it's happened to you, where you go on holiday and as I say, yeah, totally different country, and you run into someone in a restaurant on the street, and it's maybe someone you know from school or like your neighbor or someone that that is an acquaintance, let's say, in your life. It's really strange because you have a moment where you know that you know that face,
Uh-huh.
but you can't you don't understand how you know that person because you see them outside of the normal context. But no, I don't think it has recently. Anyway, I don't think it has
Mhm.
happened to me actually.
It's always a little bit awkward as well because you're
Mm,
never sure if you should like introduce yourself again and say hello. Because if you haven't spoken to this person for like 10 years, then it might be a little bit weird if you're like, oh, hi, do you remember me? So usually I just kind of keep my head down and I look away and try not to run into this person, or at least to make sure that they're not going to notice that I saw them.
yeah,
But maybe
yeah,
that's
yeah.
my kind of introverted awkwardness that's coming out.
No, no, I think yeah, when it's someone that you know, when you don't know, if you're at that point in your relationship where you that person where you can say, I'll, ask them how they are and how's life. Uh, yeah, yeah, it's awkward. Yeah, I would probably do the same thing as you. Just look the other way and
Like, please, please,
escape.
please, please don't recognize me. Excellent. Over to you. Let's do one or two more.
Yeah, sure. Um, is there a place you'd like to check out that you haven't visited yet?
So is there a place I'd like to check out? In this context, to check out basically means to go to see or to visit. So speaking about Italy, yes, I've visited many different places in Italy, but there are a few cities that I know are really, really breathtakingly beautiful, but I still haven't been there yet. And the two cities that come to mind are Florence and Venice. So I would love to check out Florence and Venice and go there for like a long weekend or something like that. Because I've been to Naples, I've been to Rome, I've been to Milan, but then you have these two incredible cities that are always on like series and films, and you see the sights, and it's like, wow, it kind of looks like it's not real because Venice in particular, it's like a fairy tale. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll check out Venice this year, because every time I see it, I'm like, wow, why haven't I been there? It's so close.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. It's very unique, isn't it? It's its own place. It's you can't really compare it. But that's true of Italy in general. It's very there's a lot of variety, lots of different places you can go to visit. Um, so that's a good choice. Yeah.
And given that you live in Italy, are there any cities in Italy that you still haven't visited that you'd like to check out?
I've seen a lot of places in Italy actually, but one place that I haven't checked out yet is Sicily, like the island in general of Sicily. I would like to visit there probably, um, but I don't know how I would react. Already living in Italy with my pale skin and red hair, it's a struggle. But in Sicily, it's a bit worse again. So apart from that downside, let's say, I would love to visit Sicily.
Yeah, you can go to the volcano, Mount Etna. You can visit Palermo and Catania with the local markets and everything. I say this because
Hmm.
I did half of my Erasmus in Palermo.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I lived there for like 5 months, and I remember I arrived in like February, and the first weekend that we arrived, we went to the beach. We went to a place called Mondello, which is
In
the
February.
local beach in
Hmm.
Palermo. And it was like 20 degrees or 22 degrees in February. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. I want to stay here forever.
Yes, yes, it's his own world. It's yes. I mean, I wouldn't have imagined 20 degrees in February. That's a bit shocking, but yeah, good. Like you say, yeah, why not? You would take it in a heartbeat, wouldn't you, if you could live in those temperatures? Yeah.
Yeah. And then the problem would be in summer that it'll just be too hot. But make the most of it whilst you can. Wonderful. All right. I think we'll call it a day there. We'll finish off there. But I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation and you learned something about Scottish English and the slang. And it's a great way for you to practice your English listening skills, tuning in to these conversations. And then you know that if you visited anywhere in the UK, hopefully you'd be able to defend yourself and get by without any problems. I'm sure that's the case. 100%. But no, Shannon, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining.
Me too.
And yeah, maybe we'll do this again sometimes.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Take care. Bye.
My pleasure. See you later, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and see you next time.